Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now, the sources of Constitution. Now, let's move towards the sources of Constitution, from where we get the inspiration to make this Constitution. The Government of Indian Act 1935, British Constitution, and Irish Constitution, French Constitution, Australian Constitution, the Constitution of Canada. Authority of sources of the Constitution who drafted the Constitution. The opening words of the preamble to the Constitution are "We, the people of India." As I have already told you, that we, that means we, the citizens of India. These words proclaim that the people of India are the Constitution makers. That means we people are the part of government, we people are the part of administration, we people are the part of our own country. And this Constitution is not a gift to of the Parliament, British Parliament. It was enacted by the people of India and acted through their representatives, because it is more like democratic representation. After all, a constitution, like a machine, is a lifeless thing. It requires life because of the men who control it and operate it. And India needs today nothing more than a set of honest men who will have the interest of the country before them. Dr. Rajendra Prasad said this quotation. And this is very true. We need honest men and who will have the interest for the country, not for the individual interest. So we all have to take interest collectively as the citizens of the country, not as the individual personality. So authority or sources of the Constitution who drafted the Constitution. And heritage of national movement. The freedom fighters who have showed a path to fight against injustice and discrimination. You know, they were the spark. They made us aware. They just give us the sense of independence. We were sleeping somewhere and they were those who just make us woke up for the, it was an alarming call what freedom fighters have showed the path. That we were under the colonization of British rule, and that was the worst part which we were facing. And it made the Indians realize that the strength exists in unity. There is always need to raise one's voice against injustice, and this is also very true. In case freedom fighters wouldn't have played that important role, we wouldn't have realized the importance of unity. See, we all were living from diverse cultures or languages or religions in one geographical boundary, but British people came here and they started dividing us. They ruled us, and we were just like slaves following all the things. And that was the right time when the freedom fighters gave us that spark and made us aware of the freedom struggle. And at that time, Indians just followed the principle of unity and they fought against the British rule. And this is heritage of national movement. Like India attained freedom in 1947 after a prolonged struggle. The nature and character of the national movement have had a strong influence on our constitutional system. The Nehru Report of 1928 and also envisaged parliamentary democracy for India. Secondly, partition of India along communal lines did not suppress the forces of secularism. The Constitution, which came into force on January 26, 1915, prohibits discrimination on grounds of the religion or race. And you know, it was a mental trauma. When India was divided, India was given a chance to divide the country and people were agreed on that point. It was a mental trauma, it was an emotional trauma, it was economic trauma, like country was divided. And the British were successful in their ideas, like they wanted to divide and rule, and it happened. And you know, those communal lines did not suppress the forces of secularism even. Because India took this thing in a very positive way, that they didn't give any special status to any of the religions, but all the religions were equally treated. And apart from all the discriminations and everything, on 26 January 1950, we realized and we just enforced our constitution and became republic. The Congress session of 1931 had adopted a specific resolution on fundamental rights and economic policy. And in 1945, the Sapru report laid a essence on rights of an individual. And about a year later, the Constituent Assembly began framing the Constitution of India. And fourth heritage of Indian Constitution is all our national leaders, especially Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Ambedkar and others had fought against social oppression, that untouchability, principles of equality and justice are enshrined in the Constitution. As Mahatma Gandhi is concerned, He even fought for South Africans. There was racism and he fought against them, and he was always in favor of blacks in South Africa. So how it was possible that he wouldn't have left Indians for this discrimination anymore? He had a major role in Indian history for all these suppressions and operations. And Dr. Ambedkar, he himself faced so many things which were the part of untouchability. So that is why many privileges are given in the constitution, so that the people should not feel any kind of inferiority and they should not have any complex about it. Finally, all those leaders who fought the India's independence were pacifists and advocates the world peace, and they opposed imperialism and policy of racial discrimination. Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Aurobindo Ghosh, C. Rajgopalacharya all believe that national interest and internationalism should go side by side. We cannot ignore our patriotism or nationalism, and internationalism also will go side by side. So both the things would go parallel. Now, the effect of other constitutions which suited our needs. We also prepared our constitution according to our requirements. We also had some desires, and there is a need according to our own quality of population. Because the countries which already had the constitution, they might have made it according to their needs, their requirements. So we also want a compatibility of constitutional amendments of India with citizens, right? So constitution seems to have been affected and influenced by other constitutions of the world like Great Britain, Canada and Australia. India believes in parliamentary government and the rule of law. Following the examples of USA, our constitution laid down the principle of judicial review. In other words, the Supreme Court of India acts as the final interpreter of the constitution. The objectives resolution, its main points. The preamble to the constitution has an interesting historical background. In December 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru moved a resolution in the Constituent Assembly. It is known as the objective resolution, and the opening sentence of the resolution reads, "This Constituent Assembly declares," because again this is the connectivity of Indian people, "its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent sovereign republic and draw up for her future governance a constitution." And its main points were India is an independent sovereign republic. This is very true. And it shall be union of the territory. This is also very true. We all are one. And Indian states and such other territories are willing to be part of the Indian Union. Sovereign independent India. That means derive all powers from the people only. Justice, that is social, economic and political, equality of status and opportunity, and freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship shall be secured to all people of India. Adequate safeguards shall be provided for minorities, depressed and other backward classes and backward and tribal areas, because these people were ignored and they people were not enjoying those privileges which the other were enjoying. So for their benefit, the safeguards were provided in the constitution that time. And integrated of territories of the republic and its sovereign rights on land, sea and air shall be maintained according to justice and the law of civilized nations, and this ancient land make its full contribution to the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind. And the famous objective resolution was examined by the drafting committee. It made certain verbal changes in it, and the preamble to the constitution retains the spirit and, as far as possible, the language of objective resolution. Now, the salient features of the constitution. The basic structure of the constitution, that its most fundamental features can be described as preamble. Fundamental rights, directive principles, secularism, federalism, republicanism, independence of judiciary, rule of law and liberal democracy. Preamble, do you know what is preamble? Whenever we start a book, we do have a preface. Preface means to know what exactly the book is all about. So that's why preamble was also written, to know what the constitution is written about. The constitution is a written constitution of India. It is a formal document. The very first thing to define it, written constitution, it is a formal document. And the constitutional settlements is the rules that govern the political system and the rights of the citizens. These are the points of written constitution. And the sources from where we have taken the things. British constitution has given us the parliament form of government, the rule of law, lawmaking, the office of the speaker. The Constitution of United States gave us the principle of judicial review, independence of the judiciary, vice president, ex officio chairman of the upper house of parliament, American Bill of Rights. Then Irish Constitution and French Constitution has given us directive principles of state policy. Liberty, equality and fraternity was the key slogan to the French Revolution. These ideals were included among the rights of man declared by the French National Assembly soon after the Revolution. And Constitution of Canada has given us the federal system. That means the distribution of powers between the union and the state government. And now it is among the local government as well. Ours is the lengthiest constitution in the world because, we are number 2 in the population, so as we have unity in diversity. Just to maintain and balance that diversity, and there should not be any discrimination among all the people on any of the basis, the India has written the lengthiest constitution so that no one can be ignored. And did you know that the Constitution of India is the longest constitution in the world, having 26 parts, 12 schedules and 448 articles? Democratic and republican features. A state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives. Democracy, a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. Executive functions are exercised by members of the parliament appointed by the prime minister. So this is the parliamentary or the cabinet system of government, where the parties in the minority serve in the opposition and the majority form the government. Centralized federation. A federal government, on the other hand, refer to a system of government in which the powers of government are divided between the central government and the governments of the federating units called states. Single citizenship. In India, there is no way of getting dual citizenship. That is like in many countries, it is one citizenship of state and one is of the country. But here, it is not like that. Single citizenship means a person is a citizenship of the whole country. Indian constitution is federal in character, but it provides single citizenship for Indians, and it means that there is only Indian citizenship. Reservation of seats. And in central government funded higher education institutions, 22.5% of available seats are reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes and essay students. To abide by the constitution and respect the idols and institution, the national flag and the national anthem is a fundamental duty of a citizen. The other duty is to cherish and follow the noble idols which inspired the national struggle and freedom. Obviously, when you are belonging to one country that has one common flag, one national anthem, so it is our moral duty to just follow and respect the to abide by the constitution and respect these idols. It gives you a connectivity as a citizen, and obviously to cherish and follow the noble idols, like how we got the freedom and how we have how we are maintaining it, so that national struggle and freedom is also to be cherished, to uphold and protect the sovereign unity and integrity of India as well. Directive principles, that means there are few principles also for proclaim that India is a welfare state for the benefit of the people they are working. The constitution lays down certain directive principles of state policy which, though not justiciable, are fundamental in governance of the country, and it is a duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws. Doctrine of judicial review. It refers to supervising the exercise power by the judiciary of other government, coordinating bodies with a view to ensuring that they remain within the limits set by the constitution on their powers. That means each organ of or the level of the government has its own judiciary, and they have to follow the instructions given in the constitution as well. Judicial review doctrine is based on the principle of the rule of law and separation of powers. Secularism means there is no special status given to any of the religion. And it is based on secular naturalistic consideration. The constitution aims to establish a secular state. A secular state is one which is not wedded to any particular religious dogma or creed. It allows equal freedom of faith and worship to all. And our constitution guarantees freedom of conscience to all irrespective of their beliefs and practices. We can follow any of the religion, any time, any culture we can follow. There is no discrimination on this basis. And the combination of rigidity and flexibility, as I have already discussed, it is the lengthiest document, formal document in the world, and the Constitution of India is flexible. It can be changed. It has a set of rules and regulations. It can be changed at any point of time when it is required, but it is a very long procedure. So, if we say that it is flexible, it is rigid on the other hand as well. A rigid constitution is one that requires a special procedure for its amendment, as for example, the American Constitution also. Now let's see what are the 4 sources of Indian Constitution. We are doing the revision. Amendment is the main source of Indian Constitution. It acts of the Parliament is another source of Indian Constitution. Act of 1935 is an important source of Indian Constitution. The Constitution derives a lot from the Government of India Act 1935, and constitutional provisions of other countries like France, Britain, USA and Ireland were important sources of other constitution. Functions of Constitution is like it is needed to provide basic rules and to provide fundamental principles, to specify how the government will be constituted, and limitations on 3 organs, that is your absolutely and arbitrary system of executive, legislative and judiciary. Indian Constitution is neither too flexible nor too rigid, justify it. Indian Constitution is world's largest written constitution, and in general changing a written constitution is very difficult. But Indian Constitution is both rigid and flexible because the procedure of amendment is neither easy nor difficult. The Constitution has provided a federal structure for India and a special majority of the Union Parliament. A majority of not less than 2/3 vote is required to amend the Constitution. And what is fraternity? The dictionary meaning of the term fraternity is brotherhood. Without fraternity, liberty and equality are meaningless, and it was the main slogan of French Revolution also. The preamble of Indian Constitution lays special stress upon promotion of fellow feeling among the people of India. Unless the people become a community of interest, cohesion into one nation is not possible. Thanks for watching the video, and that's all for this chapter. Hopefully this will be a helpful support material for all of you. See you in the next chapter. Have a good time.